Here is the 2009 Audi S5. If we take a look at the driver's door, there's a bit of a dent there because nobody knows how to open doors correctly. Wheels are a little bit scuffed up, but other than that, okay. Interior-wise, seats show some wear, and the passenger seat had some damage to where the seat was torn. So at some point, I'll get new seats there. Stick shift, red leather. Then you can see where I started taking it apart. In this photo here, we have the bumper removed and starting to take out the wire harness from the headlights and the front. And you'll notice that the intake manifold has already been removed. Here's the intake ports, and tough to tell what you're looking at if you're not a car person, but definitely not ideal. And here we can see after with how much cleaner. So we'll bounce back to that other photo one more time here. There, and back to there. So you can see how much different that is. Then we moved on to removing the front bumper support. And you can see that I started removing everything off the front of it. Top of the motor here, we can see how much grease and oil buildup had been built up within that motor. And then here's after I've spent a significant amount of time detailing everything. Here's the camshafts. Everything looks okay there. Oil filter housing being replaced, and eventually I did do the crankcase housing, which is just to the side of that. Oil cooler removal involved me removing the alternator and the alternator bracket, and once everything was off the front of the vehicle, it wasn't too bad anyway. Alright, so we're going to start with the wide lens here and talk about some of the parts. So we've got water pump, lower hoses there. We've got oil cooler, which is on the ground. Oil cooler was blocked by alternator. Alternator had its own mounting bracket, which is sitting on my shelf. You need triple squares, you need Torx bits. I don't think I've had any E-Torx bolts on here. And then I think oil filter housing, 2 bolts back there, little figure eight shaped gasket here. This thing had oil everywhere. So I'm thinking whenever oil filter came off, spilled here, got into these channels, and then I was told the oil filter housing gasket was replaced. If it was, it makes sense why there was so much oil in here. I did it again anyway, because I'm not gonna risk whatever bonehead mechanic worked on this. I'm not trusting his work. So I went with OEM gaskets. I always try to go with OEM gaskets, especially on parts that are buried this deep under the fuel rail, intake manifold, you know, everything else I had to take off, all of these injectors, things like that. Crankcase cover here. Crankcase cover here, that's kind of the hold down for the hose itself. That hose had to be repaired from a bit of plastic break. The gasket here is currently missing, just a flat plate here. There was oil in here, and it's kind of like, almost like it's spring loaded, then the oil drains back into here into the oil pan, I'm guessing. I don't know, not an expert. There's a little plackety. Feel that oil pressure. There we go. Don't see any leaks. No fuel, no oil, nothing.